It's your boy Crypto Blood. Episode 67 live stream coming up tonight. Let's get it. I got my gang in the house tonight, people. 3D is in the building. We're going to have BlkMoney and also some mystery people jumping in. You know, we may have a little mind your biz. We may have a little default. I don't know who's going to jump in with us, but we are having it go down tonight. Let's get it. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe and click that bell. Hey, I know I sound stuffy. You got to thank either Trek. I don't know if it's Trek or if it's Rice who got me sick down in Miami. We'll talk about that a little bit here today. Let's go. Let's get it. Tonight we have some nice topics to discuss with you guys. One being El Salvador buying the dip. Is that a smart thing? I'll give you my two satoshis on that because it kind of relates to what is going on with MicroStrategies as the SEC rejects their Bitcoin accounting strategy. I'll go over all of that tonight and what that means for MicroStrategy. I've been telling you guys for a long time, you live by the Bitcoin, you die by the Bitcoin. And when you're a publicly traded company, that is not a good recipe. I'm gonna be honest with you. So we'll talk about what's going on with MicroStrategy. It's down like 18% from Friday and went down another 6%, I think, in the aftermarket tradings. And the Ethereum Foundation, I didn't even know about this. They actually timed the top. They sold $90 million worth of Ethereum back in November 11th. They cashed out, and that's not the first time. We're going to talk about that tonight. Maybe we should start looking at them as a change in the markets, right? A top in the markets. They've done this more than once. So we'll talk about that tonight. That is out of you today. And DeFi, should it be regulated? Well, the EU is trying to do that. We'll take a look at that one. And lastly, Peter Schiff. You know, he likes to come out the woodworks when Bitcoin starts to take a tumble. Well, he's doing that now. He's saying it's still going to zero and people should get out the way. And I can't stand Schiff, man. He's a smart guy, but just you talk about a person that holds on to a narrative all the way up. Come on, Peter. Everything goes to zero in the end. So what are you really saying here? All that on tonight's episode of Off the Chain, and that's episode 67. Let's get it, people. Keep staying tuned to the moves, the wicked dudes and skyscrapers. I'm rising up to swags of a new flavor. I'm after a new flavor.
Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
I keep my drive locked in. I keep it close to the chest.
Fucking thing sucks. We'll do it live.
All right, let's get this party started. I sound so sick, but I'm not. I feel great, ladies and gentlemen. I got my favorite people in the crypto space with me. Mind your biz, BlkMoney, 3D. What's going on, everybody?
What's up, man? Detroit people love gunshots, man.
Hey, man, that's how you get the energy right. You got to have the gunshots, man. You know what I'm saying?
Seriously, in the green room, every time you hit the soundboard with the gunshots, man, I am giggling the whole time because he's got the 3-round burst, he's got the fully automatic, he's got the shotgun blast, he's got all the different gunshots on his soundboard, and I'm over here cracking up like,
oh man,
how can I get more of this in my life? But not,
right. 3D, what's going on with you, man?
Not much, man. Glad to be here. Just been working on Minecraft stuff.
Uplift doesn't have a violent area in their world, do they? It's all peace, love, and happiness over there in Uplift world.
No, they don't have a PvP yet, but they're working on one. So
they're
we're gonna be able to have one.
Well, I'll be in that area then. Hope everyone's doing well. Jojo Wave is in the building. I got my man Crypto King. He's really pumping this hex. Got my Hexians in the crew in the building tonight. But let me see if I can get this screen shared so we can talk about these articles tonight. Before I do that, mind your biz. Go ahead and tell everyone where they can find you.
So you can find me at sub.myb.lol. You can see down there on the username. That will bring you directly to my YouTube channel and give us a sub over there. Also on TikTok, but I think probably the best way to go to all of it, I'd probably need to start changing this. mineyour.biz/links. And that's my link tree. Got everything.
Gotcha. 3D.
I'm mostly on Twitter _3D_. But you can go to 3D.ninja and find my website.
Gotcha. BlkMoney. You
Be
back
okay.
at McDonald's, huh?
Yep, definitely.
Is that where they can find you, at the local McDonald's?
You can find me on fries and buns. I'm mostly on
Oh
Twitter.
man.
BlkMoney.com spelled out.
All right. So I'm just getting back from Miami. Had a great time out there with Trek, with Rice TVX. He got me sick, man. It was crazy because look, he hit me up. Look, it was the day after he left. He hits me up. He's like, just to give you a heads up, man. I've been feeling horrible. I got 105 temp. My girlfriend made me take a COVID test. It came back positive. I'm like, come on, man. So I was literally in the bed. Like when he texted me the night before, I was in the bed the whole day, like the whole night. I was just sweating, just getting it out. I had some good tea though. Had some real good tea from this Chinese restaurant, or it was actually Japanese. And I sweated it out, man. I was good like the next day. But yeah, thanks, Rice, for giving me COVID. I'm sure I got it. But I'm good now. So let's talk about what we're doing or discussing this afternoon or evening, wherever you may be. Look, I don't know where you guys want to start. The links are in the description of this live stream, so you guys should have had that and been able to kind of get up to speed of what we will be talking about tonight. But AMB Crypto, there's El Salvador buying the dip. Another 410 Bitcoin. Experts raise alarms. What do you guys feel about this? I mean, I'm all for buying the dip. Like one gentleman said here, DCA, that means dollar cost averaging, is a great strategy. I agree with him. But in this article, Mind Your Biz, they're talking about the people who are kind of looking down upon this, is that you're using taxpayer dollars to gamble in a very risky asset. Is that the right approach? What do you think about the strategy that El Salvador is employing? My thing, I want to just say this really quickly, because this is this is the thing about when people actually advertise that they're buying an asset. What they're really trying to do is make you buy as well, right? Because the real people buy behind the scenes. They don't talk about it. So let me get your thoughts on that, Mind Your Biz.
Yeah, I think there's a few problems when it comes to Nayib Bukele and everything that's been happening with the El Salvador move to Bitcoin as an additional form of legal tender. Just everything about it. And this is a very, very deep topic. So to talk about like this, specifically the frame that you're talking about, Blood, with where like, hey, you're going to announce it, you're going to broadcast this purchase. Is it responsible? Is it good? Is their policy sound? I mean, having it as a form of legal tender, I'm a big fan of. But a lot of the rest of the way that Nayib Bukele has been operating since taking his tenure as president, I just feel like we don't know enough about this guy to be able to be net promoters of his actions or net detractors. I don't live in El Salvador. I'm not a person that has had to try to carve out a living for myself in this place prior to this whole move towards Bitcoin. But the history books didn't really look very favorably on the last administration that forced dollarization the same way, right? Like 20 years ago, this whole country moved to the US dollar as its primary form of legal tender, moving away from their own version of the Bolivar, or the not the Colon, but the Bolivar that they used at that time. And very few people remember that. Very few people look back. It's only 20 years ago. Very, very few people are looking back to ask, like, hey, why did they even do that in the first place? What's been going on in government in this country at that point that forced them to move to the dollar? And why would they now lose faith in the dollar and then run to Bitcoin? And then, like you're saying, further still, why would they make such a big show of this? I think that there are things happening behind the scenes there that are, frankly, just dirty, straight up. I think there's skeletons in the closet we can't see. And Nayib Bukele is over here saying, hey, look at what this hand's doing. We're buying all this Bitcoin. We really need to be looking at the other hand.
Yeah, and it's funny because I didn't even realize Peter Schiff was quoted in this article as well. We talking about Peter Schiff twice tonight. That's a bad omen. He said that means you wasted over $36,000 per Bitcoin. If you want to make bad bets on Bitcoin, do it with your own money. Peter Schiff says he wants to see what the president's own or personal Bitcoin stash looks like. I think that's, listen, I'm not a big Peter Schiff fan, but I kind of agree with him on that one. Like, let's see what you're putting up and what you're gambling with. And, let us know what your personal stash looks like. 3D, what's your take on El Salvador buying the dip? And more importantly, this is the key point, them kind of promoting it. Like, hey, look, we bought some more, come join us. There's a Mind Your Biz Junior in the background. 3D, what's your take on that?
Mind your bizlet. Sorry.
That's
3D.
The announcing part, I do think that's because like maybe the president guy actually has Bitcoin on the side and he wants to get more people to buy it to promote it. But them as a country buying Bitcoin, I think is great. Not because that's more Bitcoin for whatever, more money in the Bitcoin name, but it's the fact that they're trying to reverse the dip, right? It's dipping, they're trying to reverse it. They put capital gains and they put their capital money into it. And they've already given like a bunch of their citizens free Bitcoin. And although because they did through Lightning Network, they had a mess of problems, maybe that means that there could be a possibility they might do it again, but with actual Bitcoin, not Lightning Network, and get rid of a lot of those problems. So like I see this as a positive for the Bitcoin economy. But yeah, I do think he's only making it public because he wants his Bitcoin holdings to be worth more than what it actually is.
Is this a responsible thing, BlkMoney, for a country as small as El Salvador? They don't have financially, or I should say, from a fiscal standpoint, they're not strong, right? Monetarily, they're not as strong. But some people say, well, hell, that's why Bitcoin is a great tool for them, a great asset for them to kind of bulk up their monetary and fiscal stability. What's your take on them buying this dip? Is that the right thing or not?
Yeah, I don't really have that's really not how it started. It's just right now, this is the only thing he could do. You have to say, I believe in my original investment. So right now I'm going to keep investing because Bitcoin is my long-term solution. If you don't do it, all you can do is say, I regret it. But you gotta save your face for the citizens so they won't, form a coup.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. The thing is with me in this situation, like I said, I think it's great that El Salvador is doing this. I'm not opposed to it. I just think it seems a little like he's exercising or trying to exercise the greater fool's theory, right? To get more people to buy when he's buying and they want people to buy at a higher price, higher price, higher price. Just buy. Don't announce it. Don't go on Twitter. Don't be Trump. Don't be the Bitcoin Trump and be out there on Twitter saying, hey, we bought another 10, we bought another 5. Like, just have a strategy, stick to it, and keep it moving if that's truly what your goal is.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I disagree just a little bit on that one point, Blood. So and here's why. So everything that I said before about the potential for abuse in El Salvador basically is the underlying problem. I think is a potential for abuse, right? When you're talking about a head of state, not just like a business owner, right? Somebody with a fiduciary responsibility to a business or to an organization. But this guy does. Now that you bring up Trump, it does make me think, right? Somebody that's got a finger in both pies, right? Like that's the vibe that I get from Bukele is that this is a guy who's trying to kick off an enterprise using the nation of El Salvador as a springboard, right? And get a bunch of people to bring outside investment into that country. If you recall, there's a program running in El Salvador now that he started where people can essentially expat to El Salvador, but they have to prove what's solvency, right? In Bitcoin, they have to put up 3 Bitcoin worth of collateral to say, oh yeah, I'm a good bet. You should let me into your country, and we should start this whole new little enclave of Bitcoiners, right? Of diehard maxi Bitcoiners. And so this guy, he has to make himself the poster child for Bitcoin in this country. And if he doesn't do this, then all these people that dropped 3 Bitcoin to prove that they would be good bets as far as expats coming into this country, it's going to be a problem for them if they don't see this guy really, really stand behind all the big talk, all the rhetoric. He's got to be able to show them publicly that he's going to keep on fighting, and he's going to be their best friend, their advocate, the guy who makes living on Bitcoin and living for Bitcoin like the main thing. So there's no other country in the world that's doing quite what he's doing, and he knows it. He knows he's got a competitive advantage when it comes to brain drain from countries that have, you could say, abusive tax policies like the United States and Western Europe, where you're going to lose half of your net worth to taxes if you succeed, right? If you're lucky enough to succeed, then you will be punished for it in the form of taxes. And this guy is basically trying to be the poster child for a new way of living and maybe trying to get some value from other countries by proving to others that, yeah, you should really try to migrate to this country where we value Bitcoin and it's all equality and it's all sound money. And, we're trying to build a new system. Never mind the fact that, we've got we had the worst civil war anywhere in the world. And we created MS-13, God damn it. Sorry, I'm upset sometimes at how incredibly quickly we forget how bad El Salvador, like the bad conditions they created. The gang violence that happened in LA.
Yeah. El Salvador has some of the worst violence in the world.
Yeah.
Move over Detroit and where BlkMoney is and in Memphis. No comparison. No comparison, right? So
they kicked it off, right? The Crips and the Bloods in the 1990s, they had nothing on MS-13.
None.
MS-13 kicked all of it off, and they all came from El Salvador. Those guys were, the freedom fighters and the guerrilleros. All those people, they came from a spot where they were seeing terrible things, women and children being beheaded and thrown into vats of acid, all this, the worst stuff you could do to people. They did there, and then they imported it to the United States. Rather, they exported it over to the United States, and then the CIA here, then the FBI here, they're still trying to track down high-ranking members, high-profile members of MS-13, the gang that started in that country 40 years ago.
So is it fitting that we see El Salvador be the first adopter of Bitcoin? Is that going to fix something, or is it going to make things worse? What do you think about that, 3D?
I think that might actually help their people because you can memorize your seed phrase, you can memorize your memoric phrase, and then if you have a problem with that, gangs and stuff, okay, I have no physical money for you to take. You're gonna kill me before you take my Bitcoin type thing, and there's more of that can happen. Then their gang situation will shift and go to something else.
Would you die for your Bitcoin?
Yeah, I've actually had my front door kicked in before and had a gun to put my head, and they wanted my Bitcoin, and it did not happen. I will die for my Bitcoin.
Oh, BlkMoney, would you die for your Bitcoin?
Everything can be replaced, man. So, except you. So, whatever this is, all materialism, I do not care about it. You can have it. But also, take these 40 cal rounds with you.
Oh man, 3D, you're in another dimension. No pun intended. Bruh, you'll die for your Bitcoin. I can't die for my Bitcoin. At the same time,
one of my kids can always get my Bitcoin. There's always a way for my children, even after I'm gone, to have access to my coins. So I have a plan set up. It's not like, oh, he come in today, shoot me, I'm dead. Now they're screwed. No, they ain't screwed. My Bitcoins still live on through my family. And then also, we protect ourselves. We have guns and stuff. The guy that came in and bust down the door, he ended up going in the hospital. He didn't leave walking away.
So this is a good one here. Even if you give them the Bitcoin, there's zero guarantee they will let you live. Why give it up? Okay. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think if they run up on Crypto Blood and say, give me your Bitcoin, I'm just gonna give it over, man. I'm just gonna give it over. then shoot them
There
in the
it
back when they're
continues,
running away, and then steal it back, steal my own Bitcoin back. How about that? But
Yeah,
to the point of this, article, man, I just feel like it's an interesting take of what they're doing here. The president of El Salvador, I mean, to me, the antics of tweeting out, nope, I was wrong, didn't miss it, all that stuff is just it's a little hyperbolic in my opinion. I just don't think it's necessary. As I stated before, buy your Bitcoin if you're serious about it and that's part of your fiscal or monetary policy, do it. You don't have to make an announcement. I don't see other countries out here. I saw someone talking about Bitcoin. If Bitcoin is a digital gold or gold 2.0, it's fine for countries to buy it. Yeah, I don't see people out here or countries saying we bought another 100 tons of gold yesterday on Twitter. They don't do that, right? So be more mature about it, in my opinion. That's kind of my take on that. Any last thoughts on this El Salvador buying the dip? Are they catching a falling knife? I don't know.
Yeah, I think as far as dollar cost averaging goes, I mean, there's what are they going to do? It's a bit like gold and building up the reserves of gold for a nation state like this. So, I mean, there's not a bad time, and if they are going to value average into Bitcoin, then this probably was the right move. I mean, in the same way that like if you're an investor, right, you divest on the way up and you
Right.
invest on the way down. You
Exactly.
can't catch the falling knife, but you can kind of measure the trend and you can work with it. I don't think he's doing the worst possible thing. And again, as a fiduciary to all of the little cottage industries that they're trying to build inside of El Salvador, he's got to be a loudmouth about it. So what are you going to do?
Good point. Good point. Next one is also an article about a company, not a sovereign nation, but an actual company buying Bitcoin. They've been a huge proponent of Bitcoin. Michael Saylor, you guys know him. He's how do you want to put Michael Saylor? Like, he came in 2020, which is late as hell, but that's another subject. Comes in 2020. Now he's just like the Bitcoin Jesus 2.0. Move over Bitcoin Jesus. We got Michael Saylor now. He's spreading the gospel. Just got here 2 days ago, but he's spreading the gospel, people. He's having some issues with the SEC. They rejected his Bitcoin accounting strategy. He was trying to do some non-GAAP accounting, which is clever. And other companies do it too. People exercise the non-GAAP all the time on Wall Street. That's nothing new. But essentially, and I actually agree with Michael Saylor's pushback on this, but the SEC said, nope, you can't do it. You can't basically account for Bitcoin in the way that you want to. You got to do it as a pretty much, and what is it? What do they call it? Intangible asset, I think, is what they want him or is forcing him to recognize Bitcoin as. And in doing that, what that means is that now he can only, as Bitcoin goes lower, he can only decrease the value of it on the books of MicroStrategy. When Bitcoin goes back up, he can't increase or update that value on their assets, on their books, on their balances. So it's only a down. If it keeps going lower, he has to write it down. If it shoots back up, goes to 100,000, he can't update that price. I think that's crazy. It does need to be updated. But you look at what MicroStrategy's price is today. I mean, on Friday, it dropped 18%. That's a lot for a stock, mind your biz. 18% intraday, and then I think another 6 or 7% after hours. Is MicroStrategy making the right strategy with Bitcoin and buying so much and leverage buying? And I don't know. What are your thoughts, mind your biz?
I think, to your point, I think that if Michael Saylor had his way, if he had been able to do the accounting the way that he hoped and give those stockholders, right, those stakeholders, some indirect exposure to Bitcoin, I think it was absolutely the right strategy. He was playing the game brilliantly. He was somewhat ahead, but yeah, as far as having to create the intangible asset and work with the SEC's kind of new redefinition, right, of the goalpost, the sort of shifting of the goalpost.
Of course,
I think he's in trouble. Yeah, I think he's definitely in trouble here. That said, it seems like having a really healthy treasury for any company, it tends to solve some of these problems, right, over time. Usually sooner than later, having a good, healthy treasury does help out. That's why Ripple, for example, hasn't totally folded under the pressure of the SEC, approaching them with more scrutiny, regardless of your feelings towards Ripple Labs or XRP. That's why they haven't folded yet. And I think we're going to see the same with MicroStrategy, is that they're going to show some resilience. But yeah, that dip in their stock price is absolutely a reflection of stakeholders losing faith. Right, losing faith in their ability to maintain indirect exposure to that Bitcoin.
Have they pigeonholed themselves into this Bitcoin narrative, though?
100%.
Right.
100%.
MicroStrategies is, I don't even know what they do. Some type of tech consulting firm. I don't know, but they don't do Bitcoin. Yeah.
I don't remember what they do as a company. They're the equivalent of El Salvador as a company. So when you got all these people who aren't really into crypto and they invest in your company trying to get exposure to Bitcoin, like Mind Your Biz says, once Bitcoin goes down, they lose the faith in your company. So your stock's just gonna plummet no matter what. But he's in the same position the president's in. They have to keep pushing Bitcoin or they're pretty much dead. They've told everybody it's the future. So they gotta push it if they want to stay in office or stay the leader of the company.
See, here's where I think that Saylor could have a play if he tries to take Bukele head on. What he needs to do is go buy a little island, all right, and make a sovereign nation, and then invite all the maxi Bitcoiners from around the world to go join the MicroStrategy nation. Then he's out of the hot water. Yeah, just has to hire a private army too.
Right.
President of El Salvador also.
Yeah. I mean, that's just it with the current MicroStrategy holdings, their current treasury right now. Like again, this is where having that healthy treasury does help them solve a lot of problems. Now, yes, they're not totally being harassed by the SEC. They have to completely relocate. And I'm not here to offer any kind of strategy to a company with the word strategy in its name. But like, really, like, you guys figure it out. But they could probably pivot just a little bit and then maybe offshore, especially if their nexus of business operations isn't even really here in the United States. If what BlkMoney is saying, we don't remember what they do anyway, and they don't absolutely have to employ people here in the States, just get out of the States. Go.
So the interesting thing in this article, it does talk about essentially they wanted to report without Bitcoin, basically. They wanted to report an $18 million loss this last quarter. But because they couldn't report it in a non-GAAP way, it's now $32 or $38 million. Look, won't they focus on making money? Then think about buying some Bitcoin. How you gonna sit up here and lose $18 million in a quarter, but you probably bought $300 million worth of Bitcoin last quarter? I mean, listen, I'm all for buying Bitcoin, like we just talked about with El Salvador, but it just feels like people, especially like these countries, like the president of El Salvador, he's new to Bitcoin. Michael Saylor, he's new to Bitcoin. Like, they don't understand the wrath of cryptocurrencies. I really like the charts. You can look at the charts and just say, oh yeah, it dropped down there and then it came back, and hindsight is 20/20. But boy, when you're in it, it's a different story. 3D, what's your take?
Well, like MicroStrategy is used to just buy and sell stock for people and kind of give investment advice on how to increase your value through that system. And I think that's what he was hoping, that him buying all this Bitcoin originally, that was kind of what he did. He was telling his people, buy Bitcoin, it's going up, it's going up. But now that they did this to him, it does throw a wrench into his method of doing what his company does, teach people how to invest. And so, but at the same time though, if he can continue to buy Bitcoin, and that means he's going to have to start buying Bitcoin on tips in order for that margin of his value wealth for that company to go up. And I honestly think the SEC saw what he was doing, because he is they do teach investment strategies and stuff like that. And then they were like, okay, if you're buying Bitcoin and it does go up in value again in the future, we got to make it to where that's not publicly viewable. And that's what they did.
That's
they
horrible. That blows your whole strategy.
Yeah, but
Pun
at the same time,
intended.
SEC don't like
Now you got a
Bitcoin,
macro
so that's
strategy,
good for them.
not a micro strategy. What's that, 3D?
Well, since SEC doesn't like Bitcoin, this is actually good for them. That's
Yes.
why it's set up
Yes.
like this.
Yes, exactly. I agree. And I don't think they're going to change it. Do you guys think they're going to actually change the way you can report Bitcoin from a treasury standpoint? I don't see them. I don't know. I don't see it happening.
Like the way it's set up right now, the more people are going to back off the fact that they own Bitcoin or announce they own Bitcoin, it's going to be a lot less of that being publicly from companies because, if they do announce it or whatever, it's in their books, the SEC is going to be harder on that company for one. And then for two, like you're saying, they can only show decline, which then causes their investors and their stock to withdraw, which causes a decline in value, and it
It's a
tumbles over.
feedback.
And
It's a feedback loop, right? It's a negative feedback loop. So I put this tweet out the other day. Said Sailor's average price is $29,000 Bitcoin. What happens if Bitcoin goes below 20K? And that kind of segments us into the next topic that I wanted to talk to you guys about was, what does it mean if Bitcoin? A lot of people, I've been a $20,000 Bitcoin caller for a while now, over a year and some change. I said, hey, we have to go back to that previous all-time high. That's just how markets work. I'm not giving you a date, so it's not a prediction. It's more of a thesis. I'm not giving you a date. I just know that I've been trading for 15, 16 years. I know this is what has to happen. Now people are out here now saying $15,000 Bitcoin, $10,000 Bitcoin. I know you guys saw in the Twitter, in our Twitter DM, which is insane. Thank God it's private. So I think who was it? 10 Pound said it's going to $3,000 Bitcoin, 5,000 or something crazy. What does it mean if Bitcoin goes to $10,000, $15,000? Like, is there something fundamentally wrong here if we go back that far?
No, there's nothing fundamentally wrong if we were traced to the $15,000 level, and I'm going to stand by that one. I think too much lower than $15,000, and we're in serious trouble because we are then threatened at an existential level because Bitcoin uses proof of work, because of the average cost of electricity around the world in the markets where Bitcoin is most heavily farmed, where it's most heavily mined. We currently have a bare utility value of Bitcoin of around $15,000. Costs around $15,000 to make one full Bitcoin. So dipping too far below that for too long, yes, we are in trouble. We really are. But going to $20,000, those who are heavily into mining from a business standpoint, or the really the larger, heavier hitting investors, the Riots and the Compass Minings and all of the other larger institutional groups that are doing Bitcoin mining, they're not going to sweat it too much, Blood. At $20,000, they're going to say like, okay, I'm not super comfortable. Our margins are really, really lean. But those who have executive level positions, right, the C-suite of these companies, they keep their jobs. They keep their golden parachute. Everybody wants to keep them in place because people are still making money. There's still margin there. But we get back down below $15,000 to produce Bitcoin. All these people heads are on the chopping block, and everybody who had investment capital in these companies is desperately looking for an exit. So yeah, that's where we have all kinds of havoc being wreaked on the Bitcoin industry from an existential perspective, right? Like, how does Bitcoin exist without proof of work? It doesn't. That's the bottom line. So we have to start then going to these markets and these strange exotic energy subsidies that we haven't had to dip into for a while, and we might not like where Bitcoin goes when we go there, because then the Venezuelas, then the Brazils, then all the other countries that have either the ability to generate power on site entirely cheap or free, they get involved. And Nayib Bukele, we're going to circle back to Nayib Bukele. That's why he's transforming the side of this volcano in their country into a Bitcoin mining operation, because they know if we dip that much farther down, then everybody says, "Oh, you bought $36,000 Bitcoin. You're an idiot." Oh, and he goes, "Yeah, but we got a friggin' volcano making it for free when everybody else is folding their mining operations." Now who's the idiot?
3D. I heard your price target for break even was a little lower than mine. Your bids. I think you were saying like 5,000 or
No, I mean,
somewhere around
if
there.
Bitcoin
No.
goes to if Bitcoin went to $0 today, I'll still be in the plus. I've been in Bitcoin way too long. That's my thing, but that's just because I've been in Bitcoin since Bitcoin pretty much started. Like I've been in it since '09. I've also
Mm-hmm.
been in cryptocurrency since '02, and I still was in high school. But I see miners all the time mine under margin. If Bitcoin was to hit 3 grand after 2 weeks, I'll be happy as heck because all of my miners are gonna be making me more Bitcoin. And that's the thing that a lot of people, like who are like no offense to Seth, but like major people that live off what they mine, they forget that there will still be people mining not making money because that Bitcoin is still worth to them more than what it is in the US dollar value range. Like that's just a range for the public to buy off of others. But when people are using their Bitcoin as currency, $0 Bitcoin is still an expensive product to them. I used to buy servers on $0 Bitcoin, and it only got cheaper for me to get those servers over time.
Right. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's a good point. I didn't think of it from that perspective.
I,
So I
I
love
want to push
having you
back on
guys
that
in.
in a minute, Blood.
Yeah. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I want to push back on that, and I don't want to like ruin the flow here. I though, so I'm going to push back on that just a little bit and say that like on the one hand, I agree 3D that yes, there are going to be markets that we don't fully like. There will be unintended consequences. There'll be blowback, and there will be like and there will be all kinds of value flowing out of the current mining markets into areas and sectors that we can't foresee right now. But among those, one of the things that maybe that you haven't seen yet is the total global net hash, right? The number of machines that are hashing on SHA-256 in order to secure Bitcoin right now. Well, the genie's out of the bottle. The number of ASIC miners that have come out of China, right, out of Bitmain's factory, those don't just disappear overnight. So the current global hash rate of Bitcoin is not going to disappear. It's just going to be offshored, right? It's going to be translated to a different place with a lower cost basis for power. So if there are, let's just use to keep the math easy, if there are 1,000 Bitcoin mining machines, there are way more than that. But if there were 1,000 Bitcoin mining machines that were super high efficiency that came out recently, and the cost to produce Bitcoin went beyond what investors like the suits like to see, and they say, okay, yeah, we're done, we're out. Sell all our machines, get us out of this business. I want to go like open a laundromat or self storage because that's where my mind is going now, right? I don't want to do this anymore. Those machines don't just like cease to exist; they get bought up at a loss. They get bought up by buyers around the world who have a lower cost basis for power. So recently, we saw the problems in Kazakhstan, but a ton of miners went to Kazakhstan after China shut down. And if this happened and forced a lot of those high profile, right, like white collar mining operators, the people who never like touched a mining machine in their life but call themselves miners, those guys who don't care about $0 Bitcoin or everything that 3D just talked about, if they fold, what happens to their equipment is it gets bought up by the opportunistic buyers in other markets who have cheaper power. And yeah, to a family of whatever, a dozen who are all sleeping in one house, a multi-generational household in Brazil who believes in the mission of Bitcoin and lives next to a hydroelectric facility and gets their electricity for free. That's life changing. That's life changing technology for them. They'll sacrifice to buy that one ASIC miner that other group is selling for pennies on the dollar. So all that hash rate that you were saying before, it just trickles out into other markets, and then we find the next bull run around that things shift again. So nothing ever goes to waste, but it doesn't always go where you think it's supposed to. And once hash rate happens, it doesn't unhappen. It doesn't just disappear. Genie's out of the bottle.
McDonald's. What's your thoughts?
Man, I listen to you and Mind Your Biz talking. So I wonder why these guys aren't over 100,000 subs yet. But man, I just think it's pandemonium. If we get to 3K, then overall faith in cryptocurrency has failed, and pretty much I believe most of the projects will fail. It's too far for me. It's past the point of return where I can still pretend to be small at 3K.
Yeah,
Like
I
you guys
titled
know,
it what happens if what does it mean when Bitcoin goes to 15,000? But in our chat room, we talked about 3,000. Listen, 3,000, ladies and gentlemen, Crypto Blood is very concerned. I'm gonna be honest with you. A $3,000 Bitcoin, there's something fundamentally going wrong here, people. In my opinion, for us to go all the way back there, and you guys know I can come off as being pessimistic when it comes to cryptos and stuff. I'm just a realist, and I like to assess things from a macro standpoint. Um, I have a problem with the $3,000 Bitcoin. I'm sorry, guys. I know you in 3D and mind your biz. You guys are like, oh no, there's nothing wrong. We'll be fine. Life goes on. Oh my God, I can't see it, guys. I'm with Space Black on this one.
Oh man, Blood. Here's some free alpha. I think 3D dropped it in one set of words, and I just rephrased it in a different way. But here's some alpha for your audience. If we ever saw the blood in the streets to that level, try to seize the means of production. Just get your hands on some of the means of production. Mining gear.
Okay. So speaking of mining, I want to talk about this because there are two things I want to talk to you guys about. More so, you mind your biz when it comes to mining because you're an expert in this category, subject matter expert. What is this mining death spiral thing? Can that come? Like, I remember back in maybe 14, 15, this conversation came up, and we did hit that point. I think in that pullback in those years, and I think 3D can maybe attest to that. But there was a lot of talk about, oh snap, we may hit this like mining death spiral where the difficulty rate is too high, price is too low, and then we're stuck in this like negative feedback loop. Is that still something that you guys think about? And that $3,000 Bitcoin, can that still be an issue of a mining death spiral?
Yeah, no, it can be a problem. Mining is a unique, it's a very unique way of approaching the cryptocurrency markets because, like you're saying, it goes far beyond just the price and even just the price to produce. The difficulty is a totally separate parameter and has nothing to do with price at all. It doesn't respect price one bit. Difficulty is just the how hard it is for you or a group of miners to be able to find a block and then receive your rewards.
And typically the difficulty rate fluctuates based on how many participants?
On how many
much
participants
hashing?
and how fast the block has been found. Sorry, 3D, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, that's how much hashing is actually going on. When you get your hash rate goes down, eventually the system checks and it says, oh, well, it's too difficult, and it brings down the difficulty so that way people can start getting those blocks at the 10-minute average like they're supposed to.
Right. So, but if we have a situation where Bitcoin goes to 3,000, again, I don't think it's going that low, but this is what the conversation has been in our rooms. $3,000 Bitcoin. It's more about like the pace, right? How fast that happens. I think that is more of the issue. If it trickles down, you'll see people come offline with their miners. The hash rates will come down slowly, and the difficulty rates will adjust accordingly, right? I used to mine big time, but not anymore. You guys are the experts on that. So if we have a flash, like if we come down fast, right? Is that when the mining death spiral can be an issue that we should be concerned about? 3D?
Yeah. If we woke up tomorrow and it was at 3,000 for about 14 or 10 to 14 days, we probably won't see any Bitcoin actually being mined. And that's the mining death spiral. And any time that like Bitcoin's ever been close to doing something like that, it's always been in a middle range of the check. So it was only like 5 or 6 days where it was under 10 minutes. Well, I guess technically over 10 minutes, where it took more than 10 minutes to actually mine a Bitcoin. And when those things happen, a lot of people, like he was saying, they were going to sell off their machines. And the last time we saw a big sell off of machines, it took over 6 weeks for those machines to really get back online, for the hash rate to return, which gave us over 3 different checks of the difficulty, which allowed people within that time frame to actually get a big bonus, basically compared to what it was before that. So even if you get a death spiral, it's not going to be permanent with places like Bitcoin. And then also, like every time we've had something similar get real close to it and machines went down, hashing went down, like he said, it went to other coins, Litecoin or another shot or Dogecoin. And see, that's when then those coins get their big benefit.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
MYB.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just like 3D saying we are perfectly aligned there. Bitcoin does not care about price, and these death spirals. Now that we have again so much hash rate out in the wild, it, keep in mind that the difficulty adjustment, the way that Bitcoin is coded right now to be able to respond to these problems with difficulty, it's every 2 weeks. So it's not this really fast, responsive, nimble thing, right? 2 weeks is a long time in the real world. In actually in cryptocurrency, it's like a lifetime too, right? 2 weeks,
Yeah, it is.
right? Lose all your hair, go gray in 2 weeks, right? Like in crypto land. But for Bitcoin, 2 weeks before these difficulty adjustments take place. Now, with so much hash rate in so many different places and so many different groups having multiple locations to be able to like have different cost bases for their mining operation, man, I don't know. I think that the network becomes more and more resilient to anything resembling a hash rate death spiral every year that the network grows. I don't think that we're ever going to see anything quite like the uh, the the 13, 14 hash rate death spiral, close to death spiral. It's just not. I just don't. I don't think that that's possible anymore.
What do you guys feel about this question or statement about, well, I guess I'll ask it this way. Are you guys like long-term legacy holders of Bitcoin, meaning you're going to hold enough Bitcoin where you're going to I think 3D is definitely this, but I really want to ask you, mind your biz. Like, do you have a strategy of holding Bitcoin for your kids, your grandkids? Like, are you looking at Bitcoin as one of those like long-term generational assets at this point, even though we're only what 10, 12, 13 years into this?
Yeah, for Bitcoin specifically, Bitcoin I do view as savings, and I do view it as like heirloom quality, heirloom. Such a weird thing to say, heirloom quality cryptocurrency. Right, like because it is kind of new. Like in our lifetime, we've got like family members or people who we've known throughout our lifetimes who talk this way about gold and precious metals and such. Um, but yeah, as it is right now, I'm viewing I'm viewing Bitcoin as a long-term savings, as something that my kids will enjoy, my grandkids will enjoy. I'm not too worried about Bitcoin completely changing my life in the near term. Various other altcoins and such, various other networks, various other innovations that are taking place after the fact. Absolutely, that's what I dabble in for bread and butter earnings and like day job, so to speak. But
Yeah,
Bitcoin, it's a long-term play, very long-term play.
interesting. What about you, Black Money?
Yeah, I everything that I invest in, I break up a piece of it for my children. So it's not like I give them a portion that they can screw off themselves, and a whole section that I can pass on to them through a will. But that's for anything REIT stocks, IRAs, and Bitcoin. Like I gift Bitcoin and stocks for a gift to my children. That's like the last thing I always do.
Yeah, 3D. I'm assuming you feel the same way.
Yeah, like I pay my kids' allowance in Dogecoin. Like we don't even deal with fiat in this house unless we absolutely have to. And so yeah,
No, that's
my
dope.
grandkids are gonna get it. They're gonna get Bitcoin.
Yeah, I'm a Bitcoin fan. I'm not probably as strong of a fan as you guys are because I mean it's only 13 years or so. It's a very new technology. Still have concerns, and we could talk about this. Like I still don't understand how the economics work once that last Bitcoin is mined, and your miners are only getting paid off the transactional fees. Either Bitcoin's got to be a few $1 million, which is possible to facilitate that. But then there's a lot of other issues with that. But that's where my concern is long term, generationally, talking 100, 200 years out. I don't know. You guys chime in on that.
Yeah, Blood. I've got some thoughts on that. I think as far as us not being able to see the end of the line and know for sure that Bitcoin will like that the blockchain will run as it's supposed to after the year 2140 and the last Bitcoin is emitted to as a mining block subsidy. I think that at that point, if Bitcoin completely breaks apart because the fee model is not enough to maintain security vis-a-vis mining, if we get to that point and things just break down, well, guess what? It's already had a better run than any fiat currency ever recorded in the history of mankind, bar none. Fiat currencies have a kind of a useful shelf life, like a very productive duty life of about 50 years, give or take, right? Maybe a couple of decades.
Yeah.
Right. So we're already seeing the current iteration of the US dollar from 1971 break down. Right. And I know that you get this, you probably explain this much better than I can. But 1971 till now, we're seeing the US dollar, its most recent iteration, kind of break down a bit. If Bitcoin just was able to last till the year 2140, and that's it, if that's all it ever did, still a success in my book, if we're able to base monetary policy on it.
Yep, I agree with you there. What's your take on that, 3D?
When the last Bitcoin gets mined out, it's like we have two situations to look at. If so many people are mining Bitcoin to where the hash rate's ridiculous and people are actually using Bitcoin, then, well, your fee price is just going to be going up and up. And like when I say that, I mean like what the cost of your fee is. Like people don't realize the fee on Bitcoin has been averagely the same for like 8 years. 76 satoshis per byte it's been very common since like 2013 or so. And so like that will just go up finally. And then people who are actually mining it had a better chance of getting it. But if it's not like that, where we have a lot of people mining it, but no one using it, it's going to be the exact opposite. And it's going to have like a flash crash and it's going to be crazy and people are going to be freaking. But at the same time, it's a GitHub or a repository to spin up a brand new Bitcoin. Like just because this Bitcoin is only 21 million doesn't mean that it has to always be 21 million. Someone else can spin up another Bitcoin, be the exact same thing, and just start over.
Sounds like Bitcoin Cash. Sounds like Bitcoin Gold. Sounds like Bitcoin Diamond. Sounds like the list goes on.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I do disagree with the fork to scale mentality, because Satoshi, when he was still active, he mentioned, hey, just move the decimal point, just increase the number of atomic units. And Lightning Network, as it is right now, is already trying to fractionalize the Satoshi into 1,000th of a Satoshi even. So we've got plenty of decimal points to play with.
But one thing I will say, Meyer Biz, I remember back in the early days, I was getting into it, and we didn't have YouTube channels like this and yours and others. I would just have to follow Andreas Antonopoulos, and he talked about, this whole situation with Bitcoin and the fees and stuff. And I'm just wondering, like, did we get to a point where it just stops? Like literally, it's possible, right? Very possible.
Totally possible. Nobody,
and we have to keep that in mind, and we should, if we're long-term investors, we can't just have a one scenario outcome that we're going to plan for. You have to have multiple outcomes for yourself, for your family, legacy, and your family's wealth. So I wouldn't be all Bitcoin. I would spread it out. That's just my take on it. BlkMoney.
I definitely think you gotta diversify, but my future, I don't have it planned around any currency affecting it. I would like to be self-sufficient in land, solar, and all that stuff. So if at some point Bitcoin does stop, I hope it wouldn't impact my children's lives the way I hope to have things set up.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So that's cool, man. Yeah, I was wondering how you guys felt about that, because that was something that I definitely wanted to pick, you guys' brain on, because you guys are definitely in the mining side more than I am, for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. But yeah, so let's talk about this here DeFi regulation. I mean, a lot of people, you can't regulate DeFi. It's decentralized. You can't regulate it. Well, let's have that conversation. Like, I think DeFi I think these governments could literally regulate about 90% of these DeFi quote unquote projects.
Yeah.
And so this is something we need to really think about. It's coming. I'm telling you guys, it is coming. People said they can't regulate cryptos, and they couldn't, and it's been they ring fenced it in the United States. It's fully regulated pretty much now, KYC, AML. I know 3D, you got your clever tactics and ways of doing things. You're an OG. Most people ain't going to even take half the effort that you do, right? It has to be nice and easy for the masses. So I just want to know and have that conversation with you guys regarding this article. There's out of Cointelegraph that talks about the EU and their approach to start that conversation, and they're taking steps in a direction about, you know, really regulating DeFi, and they're using that whole FATFA, you know, that's the Financial Action Task Force Agency. What's your thoughts on DeFi being regulated? Can it be regulated? What's the probability or possibility of that happening?
What was it for?
All three of y'all.
Oh, okay. So as far as DeFi, all three of y'all.
All three of y'all.
As far as DeFi, I don't think it should be regulated, but to be an adult that knows that most of the stuff is going through AWS or Azure, that it can be regulated. The infrastructure that most crypto projects run on is something that can be shut down, subpoenaed, or stopped by the government. We got to not be so naive to think that anything is actually really DeFi. If I'm wrong, let me know. Next person.
Mind your biz.
So I like that in the article that you sent, it actually has that as a question where it asks the questions. If it's okay, I'm just going to enumerate these questions as part of the test that the FATF applies. Where they say, does a person or entity have control over the asset or the protocol itself? Does a person or entity have a commercial relationship between it and customers, even if exercised through a smart contract? Does a person or entity profit from the service provided to customers? And are there other indications of an owner operator? To be clear, for my part, the way that I view DeFi, these are the same questions that I like to ask. And if I know that there is an individual or just one sole entity, or even just a company that set itself up as a beneficiary of a so-called DeFi protocol, regardless of, you know, I mean, certainly like one key indicator to me that would signal foul play in this regard, so to speak, or bad faith action would be if a group tried to file for a patent, for example. That's decidedly anti-DeFi in my book. So I wouldn't want to interact with a service like that. That to me signals that it's very centralized. It's not decentralized at all. If somebody holds a patent over it.
A patent over DeFi is to you.
I mean, I'm going to use the FATF's definition. It's something that can be centralized and controlled. So it's by definition not DeFi.
So is that an oxymoron? Is that oxymoronic to say I have a patent on DeFi?
100%. And the amount of the cojones
what you laughing
that it
for,
takes
BlkMoney?
Because I know where this is gonna help. If you say his name 3 times, he gonna pop up.
Say Reggie's name 3 times like Candyman, and he's here. He's gonna pop up.
He gonna pop up like the Suge Knight of DeFi.
That would make me very sad if he jumped into this chat. You know what? My first response would be like, "Hey, don't you have something to build? Don't you have something valuable to build?"
Oh my god!
Because that's what DeFi builders do.
Why so much? Oh my god! 3D, what's your take on this whole EU trying to go ahead and regulate DeFi, and is it possible? Is it truly possible to happen?
All right, for what DeFi we actually have, yeah, it's absolutely possible. Almost all DeFi systems are actually controlled either by 1 or 3 individual entities, which means that those smart contracts have a wallet key. Someone holds that wallet key.
Exactly.
And that's removable. And even on like Wax blockchain, where you have more decentralized DeFi systems, we have seen like DeFi systems there shut down. Now, that shouldn't be allowed, right? But I have actually built like specialized networks and stuff like that to actually allow people to decentralize digital systems like newspapers and stuff. So I know that there's a possible way to actually build a DeFi system that you can't shut down. You couldn't do this to it. Well, it actually would be a decentralized financial tool system, but we don't have that.
Interesting.
I'm going to push back. The Uniswap protocol is a protocol. Every major DEX and AMM is built on the open source code that is Uniswap v2, and it's totally free and open source for anybody to go build on with or without admin keys if you choose. And it's been forked and it's been deployed without admin keys on a handful of occasions. So yeah, no, I just
So
disagree with this wholesale.
who actually owns that or has access to modify those smart contracts?
So that's the
Well,
thing.
once they're
Like a lot
published,
of them do have the admin keys. A lot of them on that protocol still have their admin keys. So like I said, a lot of them. And then if Ethereum goes to 2.0, where it's more controllability of Ethereum, well, that's gonna be more controllable. Or the systems on the other side of it. Not because you're right. I can still buy and sell swap versus Potassium on Uniswap if I have my node running, and I have to pay for the API, or unless I have a really old node that's been historical or whatever, or even full, then I don't need an API. So, but you're right. But unfortunately, at the moment, we don't have a whole lot of actually decentralized systems out there.
So I
yeah.
guess
So
go ahead.
I've got a couple of comments that you promoted there, Blood, that I want.
Yep.
If I may, I'd like to respond to.
Absolutely.
So here's the thing: blockchains are by definition public ledgers. So I can go and observe who has used a protocol, and I can create a list of. I can go whitelist a number of addresses that have interacted with the protocol, and I can do an airdrop from a third-party smart contract. Doesn't necessarily indicate that the protocol itself is centralized. To jump back, Voice of Crypto, I think it's a great question, a great comment from before, but I do take issue with it in that the delisting of certain pairs on Uniswap's front end doesn't mean that the protocol itself is centralized. It means they've got a front end website that is an attack surface for regulators. And so if they operate that front end, the website itself, it's in their best interest to take those things down before the SEC or the FBI, worst case scenario, comes knocking and saying, hey, you have to take these things down. So that's a different thing. But the protocol itself, if you still choose to put synthetics into a swap or create a liquidity pair on the AMM side of the Uniswap protocol, if you as a user just decide this is a smart contract that I want to create a liquidity pool with this other smart contract token, you can. They will not stop you. They cannot stop you because it's a protocol. It's not a centralized entity.
Good point. I mean, I agree with you. I think some people do miss that point. Like it's a front end UI UX that you're involved or interacting with that's centralized, actual smart contracts. But my thing is, they could go after the people who actually created or have access to the smart contracts. And so that's kind of what this article talks about, Seth, is they're trying to relegate these people to what they call I think they call them, what do they call them, owner operators or something like that. So they're trying to narrow it down to where anyone who's actually interacting with the smart contract from an like an editable perspective is looked at and can be charged for various activities or not being regulated or whatnot. Is that something that you guys think is a real threat or not really? 3D.
No, I don't think it's a threat. Like, it's going to be threatening for some people, but in the overall space, no. It's just going to make people get smarter. Like, over the years, we've seen more and more non-updatable smart contracts, and we have been seeing a handful of protocols and projects that do non-admin key contracts and stuff like that. So, but over time, it will get smarter.
Okay, that's a good point. And
Yeah,
YB.
I agree with that with 3D on this. Yeah, we're seeing the average.
About time.
Yeah, well, we're seeing the average IQ in these projects. It's being raised, right? The bar is being
Yeah, it
raised.
is.
You
For
can't
sure.
get by on logic that you thought was sound in 2014 or 2015
Right.
in today's crypto, and certainly
Right.
not when it comes to DeFi. DeFi is so far advanced.
Yeah, no, it's definitely fragility, right? We're getting, every time they hit us, we get better and better, and we'll definitely get smarter at things. BlkMoney, you got anything to say on that?
I think you're good as long as you stay inside of crypto, because chain analysis is just creeping behind every bush, waiting for you to exit, or one of your friends to exit somebody you sent currency
Yep.
to be like, hey, I got you. Now tell me who this other person is.
Exactly. That is what I'm concerned about. Seriously. Yep.
And they work well with the IRS and other government agencies, taking people and locking their wallets and just going after them for everything they possibly can.
Yeah, speaking of the IRS, I wanted to actually bring this up and thank you for reminding me. Did you guys hear about this? IRS to start requiring facial recognition scans to access tax returns. Ooh wee. This sounds very Orwellian to me. What do you guys think about that? Mayan Ben shaking his head.
This is the same technology that most states in the union here in the United States, most states have outlawed the use of this technology for police. How in the world are we going to let the IRS get away with this? Come on.
Hey, you want your cheese? Got to show that face.
Yeah, I think that although some of the stuff is outlawed, they're still using it anyway. They're just using the Patriot Act and just using all types of camera systems, and eventually they'll find something that illegal that you did, and they'll be able to admit all that previous data about you into court. But it's just the government being the government, man. It's nothing new.
Wait a second, Jose. They're talking about facial recognition, but they're going to let that whoever that representative was do like the DMV style. Come on, really?
Who is that?
PR people, PR.
Charles P. Rittig, Commissioner of the Internal Revenue Service, testifies during Senate Council. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not going to speak much on that, but I just wanted to let you guys know out there watching that the IRS will definitely be just all in your business next time you try to collect the cheese. So be ready. Be ready for the anal probe. Basically.
What if you use a tax preparer? What if you only ever work with a CPA?
I thought about that too.
Come on.
I don't know. You're gonna have to come in and scan your. I don't know. I don't know how that's gonna work, bro. Honestly, but that is. Go ahead.
Yeah,
3D.
They'll have you scan in another way. If you work with CPA, they'll have a machine or a webcam, and they'll just connect through the API service to give that data to them. And you're right. I think this is 100% Orwellian because, like, all the people in America that rely on tax returns for like their yearly paycheck, so to speak, the government thinks that most of those people are criminals. And if they can get your face up from that, well, now they can actually have a better way to find criminals. And then with stuff like Twitter Connect with your wallet and stuff, this is all going to tie in together.
Yikes! This is crazy, people. Last subject for tonight. Pre-check. Oh, go ahead, Black.
I said they already got my face. I got TSA pre-check.
I do too. God darn it! Yep, you're right. I love it. See, that's how they get us, man. Make it convenient. Make it convenient. Last article tonight, though, I want to talk to you guys about is I didn't even realize this, and I need to find out how I can get the information about when the Ethereum Foundation is doing these things. But I guess I could just look at their wallet. But Ethereum Foundation cashed out at the top again. This is like not the first time. They cashed out 90 million back in November of last year. How do you guys feel about this? Is this them timing the top or them causing the top? That a lot of times you got to think about it from that perspective. Did Charlie Lee really time the top, or did he cause the top? What are you guys' thoughts about the Ethereum Foundation selling about $90 million worth of Ethereum? They've got like 800 million left, so it's just over 10%. Not a lot. But is this something that we should start looking at? 3D?
Yeah, like this is, like you said, like I think this caused the top, especially with that amount of Ethereum being sold out and stuff. And I know, like when Charlie Lee did it, whatever, there was people saying, "Oh, well, that's him liquid, putting it back out to the people so more people could get it and stuff." And it's like, if we did the same thing with Bitcoin, that would do that. Yeah, sure. But with stuff like this on Ethereum, nah, it's just like Ethereum Foundation giving their money to another big company and saying, okay, now give me your other money. And that causes the top, and then that allows them to do whatever they got to do next.
MYB.
Yeah, I don't know. I think my take on it is that they are just really good at reading these markets, and they have some indicators that we can't possibly hope to have when it comes to project leadership. These are the people who are having they're having a little tete-a-tete with their own assigned FBI agent, SEC
Mm,
agent, IRS
mm.
agent. They have considerations we could never possibly hope to have. So I promise you, they've got intel that we just won't have. So if we copy trade them, we're doing it right. But I don't think they caused the top personally. I think the
Mm.
Charlie Lee problem, as I like to call it, the Charlie Lee problem is not is that there is not quite enough influence to do that, right? Like when Bitcoin sneezes, the cryptocurrency markets catch cold. When Litecoin sneezes, everybody says like, "Oh, God bless you, move on." That's it, right? Like there's just not that much sway. It'd be the tail wagging the dog.
I got you. Black money.
As a former Litecoin cult member, I won't comment. But as far as the sale in November, they, they have access to way more top project leaders than we do. So it could just be something they already knew. I don't think it caused the top. It could have been locking in losses before the end of the year or anything. But I do believe we put alerts on those wallet addresses, we would have a better chance of making loot.
Yeah, you can the ETH dev wallet is what's holding the 353,000 ETH, roughly about 844 million right now at today's price. So yeah, you could put an alert on that and just kind of track and see if you can figure out if some of those funds are going to exchanges. I think they use um looks like crack. I think they use Kraken. I can't remember what exchange they
I
use.
think it did say Kraken.
Yeah,
It said
Kraken
Kraken.
heavyweight. Yep. Kraken's exchange. So that is a way for you to track that if you guys are interested in just keeping. That's one additional tool that you should be using if you're an active trader, to just kind of figure out where the market is going. But yeah, to your point, mind your biz. They do have access to people that we never will, right? And a network of information that we probably will never have. So I wonder what they saw in November of last year to say, hey, let's go ahead and take 90 million off the table.
Yeah. Or what script was handed to them by what three-letter agency, or which
Mm.
contact at which three-letter. Man, we don't know. The intrigue could. I mean, we could jump down this rabbit hole for days, blood. We could. We can't possibly know what they've run into.
10 pounds there. The market is going to zero.
Oh man, this guy 10 pound, ladies and gentlemen. So let me just give you a little inside news on this guy 10 pound. We all said, hey, we're gonna be in Miami. Oh, I'm down there. I'm down there now. I'm here before y'all get here. I got a room right across from the convention. I'm blah blah blah. And then we get there. No one sees 10 pound. Never saw him. Where you at, 10 pound? Where you at? Let us know. Now you're on a boat somewhere, paying
I'm on a
$400
boat.
for a COVID test.
The end calls.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's cool, guys. Any last words for tonight though? I want to wrap up. Thank you for joining me. I know we tapped in kind of late today. But yeah, I mean, how do you guys feel overall in the markets? Are we heading lower, heading higher, building a base? Let me know. Let's start with Black Money.
I think we're going lower. I don't want it to go lower. I think we're going lower. So you can finally get your 20K-ish realm. So you can say, I told you guys for the last 2 years it was going to 20K. I'm crypto blood. Gunshots.
Crypto Domus, baby. You already know it. Mind your biz. No one's going to listen to me, though. It's like a tree falling in the forest and nobody's there. Mind your biz.
Yeah, no, I think we're going lower. I think that the market is in need of a bloodletting. I mean, the question is when. Do we have another leg up still? We might get a surprise. That's the one thing that that cryptocurrency, and this is just class of 2017 talking. I'm not class of 2013. I'm not class of 2011. But even just class of 2017 will tell you, like, when you least expect it, crypto will surprise you. We could get another leg up, and so liquidations will happen. They will. So just careful. But yeah, I think overall the trend is still down. That's where we're headed.
3D.
Yeah, we're gonna go low. I think we're gonna get to a point where we start stabilizing between 33 and 27 for like a long period of time, kind of like we did see like what for all of 2018, just about, where it just kept going in between two major points. It just kept fluctuating real hard. Because when you go from like 33 to 27, people still freak out. And when you go from 27 to 33, people still freak out. So we're going to see somewhere, some point, it's going to do that again for a long time. And people are going to freak every day.
Yeah, nah, I hear you. We got Trek in the comments saying, "Now that's what I'm talking about, $20,000 Bitcoin, but I don't talk price." Okay, Trek, with 3Ks. Shout out. I definitely want my guy Rice to feel better. He's feeling better. I talk to him every day since I got back. He's feeling a little bit better every day. So I'm looking forward to him getting back in the scene. Just really quickly, some TA. Yeah, I see this is the line and a half drawn here for some months now. We seem to have some nice price action bouncing off that area. That takes us back into the channel. Well, if I scroll back here, where is it? So that's kind of like the lower thirds of this channel that we're bouncing off of. I think that we actually head lower from here, but we may get a slight bounce up from here and then head lower to the bottom side of that channel. And that ultimately at 31,000 will be where we need to make a decision. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, like Mind Your Biz said, the crypto markets will definitely shock you, and be prepared, stay nimble. This is what crypto is all about, people. Don't be too positive, or I should say confident in your analysis, because it's always the crypto markets will always spin you around for sure. So make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. And let me just do a roll call and let 3D tell us where they can find you. Uplift World.
Right here, 3D.ninja. That's my actual personal website.
Is that a ghost? What is that in the corner? Oh my God!
That's my youngest daughter and my wife.
They're walking in the metaverse right now. What is going on? Mind Your Biz. Where can they find you?
I updated my little profile as well. mindyour.biz/links. That'll take you to everywhere that I am on the interwebs, YouTube, Odyssey, TikTok. I'm publishing daily now on TikTok. Yeah, they got me. Finally, they wrote me in. So,
wow.
Yeah, check it all out there.
Bet. Sounds good, bro. Thanks for coming on. Thanks, 3D, for coming on. BlkMoney.
BlkMoney.com on Twitter, and you can find £10 anywhere they have a red light district.
Oh, that's a good one. We out of here, people. Thanks. Like, share, and subscribe. It's another episode Off the Chain, number 67. Yeah, we out of here, people. Holla.